Hey y'all, it's Sherilyn, Just Goodness 333 Little Homestead. I've been out back planting some okra in the garden, and I'm going to take you along in just a minute to show you that. I am all hot and sweaty. I wanted to greet you guys and say I sure hope y'all are doing okay during these trying times. We're still under the safer at home order here in Florida, and so, you know, a lot of stuff's going on. A lot of people are wanting to know more about gardening and food security. So I hope these little garden tutorials will help you. If you haven't watched the Breaking New Ground in South Florida series, I will try to link that playlist in the description of this video below. And I wanted to tell you that even in this heat, you can grow several things. You can grow okra, you can grow cowpeas, which are black-eyed peas. You can grow those all summer. You can grow Chinese red noodle beans, or long beans, noodle beans. They are really delicious in a stir fry. And I do encourage you, if you just have a small space and you just want to grow for your family, that's fine. But there are other things you can do with your garden. You can grow so you can have stuff to trade with other people. You can bless other people. You can barter. You can even sell some to make a little extra money. I've had people knocking on my door asking if I would sell them some eggs, because the grocery store's prices were so high, and of course I did. And I've been able to give people out of my winter garden. When all of this started in January, February, I was able to bless a lot of people with some extra food to put up. And it's just been a great growing season last winter, and I'm hoping for a lot of abundance. So I'm going to plant a whole lot of the few things that I can grow here in my backyard. I also want to mention the reason I'm only growing these: eggplant, okra, black-eyed peas, and Chinese noodle beans, is because my garden area gets about 9 to 10 hours of full intense sun. So your garden area may be a little different. You only really need 4 hours of full sun in Florida in the summertime. So if you're starting a new garden, you know, kind of look where the sun is through the day, and maybe that'll help you. I am rambling on now, so why don't I just take you out back and show you what we did today. Hey y'all, welcome back to the homestead. I'm in the backyard today because it's time to change out the garden for a new season. I'm trying to get ready for this. I've got a new tripod, and hopefully that makes camera work a little easier. And I just wanted to explain to you why this backyard looks such a mess. Well, it looks kind of a mess because it's been neglected. And I hope you guys are doing okay during this time, during these trying times. We're here homeschooling a second grader, running a business from the house, and I'll just be honest, I have neglected this yard. There, that's better. I was holding the long tripod, it was getting heavy, and I was scared I was going to shake y'all. We did a series back in the late summer about breaking new ground in a South Florida garden. And if you are interested in growing gardens in South Florida, growing vegetables, I suggest you go back and look at that. Today I'm going to be taking the tarps off because we grew a really nice garden in there, and that season ended. We covered it up with the tarps. I'll be taking them off, and I'm going to broad fork to loosen up the soil. Now, the perfect plan was I was going to get this beautiful dump truck full of this amazing, nice, all natural topsoil. That was the plan. There's no topsoil available. The only place we can find it, the guy's machinery is broken. And I know someone who will go and get it for me, but they have no way to load it in his truck. So there was this little conundrum, you know, what do I do? Do I wait for topsoil, not get my garden started, have a shorter season, be concerned, you know, if the heat, we had a really mild winter and a really hot spring. If we have a terribly hot summer, you know, am I going to have a much shorter season? So I decided to, you know, brave going out in public since we're all safer at home right now. And I went to the hardware store yesterday and I got about 20 bags of composted cow manure. I was feeling really down about that, and then I thought about making this video, and I said, hang on a second. There's a lot of people out there who don't have resources to get truckloads of compost. And I know when I watch our other garden friends on YouTube, and they're getting dump trucks full of beautiful soil, or they're going down 10 miles down the road and filling their pickup truck with beautiful soil and compost, I get so jealous. It's not that easy out here. And I thought I hit the jackpot, but evidently I didn't. And I figure there's just a bunch of us in that boat that can't get our hands on that good soil right now by the dump truckload. And I want you to be encouraged, because that doesn't mean that you can't grow, or that doesn't mean that you aren't going to be able to do it. We're just going to have to hit the hardware store, get that composted cow manure, get those amendments. My compost bin is pitiful, absolutely pitiful. It's winter time. The grass doesn't grow much in the winter here. We don't have a lot of clippings. I don't live on a large property, so we don't have a large amount of stuff to put in the compost, and it's just pitiful. It's bad. And there's so little of it, it's unreal. And I was just feeling a little discouraged, but I thought, you know what, we're going to turn this into something good. And I'm going to show you guys, those of you who don't have access to or can't afford, or for whatever reason, getting a truckload of super soil or organic compost, if that's not a possibility for you, we can still do this. We got this, y'all. We're going to grow these gardens. Now come on.
Oh, this is nasty.
Okay, y'all, we're back here in the new ground garden. From here on out, I'm probably just going to call it the in-ground garden, since it's not brand new anymore. But as you can see, we covered it with a tarp. It's killed off any grass and any weeds that tried to germinate, and there are lots of weeds. You use a tarp in between your plantings because, stuff gets in here. Grass seeds and weed seeds and all kind of stuff. And this way they germinate, come up, and the majority of them will die, so you'll have less weed problems. It also protects your soil, because you want good microorganisms growing. You want all that healthy stuff we put in the soil last season. We want it to still be there, and we don't want the sun to dry it out. Nature is modest. She loves to be covered. She loves to be covered for a reason, because it protects the soil. So we're going to use this broad fork. I love it. We're going to use this broad fork. It's not going to be as hard as it was last year, because we've been working the soil. It's not compacted, and we're just going to loosen it up. The reason we do that is because an oxygenated environment is much healthier for all of the microorganisms in there, and it also provides better drainage. It's just healthy. So we're going to get started and just loosen this up. When you do your broad fork, you want to start in front of you and walk backwards. That way you're not stepping on the soil that you've already loosened up. You'll just trample it back down. Let's go. If you watch the other videos on when we started this garden, you'll see that was nothing compared to the first day. Now let me take you with me for a second. I want to show you something. If you notice, we had a white tarp on this side of the garden. And we have the black side up on the other side.
there's two very distinct uses for that tarp. If you are, and I'm out of breath. Over here on this side, we grew leafy greens and brassicas and cabbage and cauliflower and kale and bok choy and lettuce. None of those things attract the dreaded nematodes that we have in our soil. They actually, a lot of them will repel them. Nematodes we have here are root knot nematodes. And they will get in the roots of your plants and bind them up. So the white kept the ground covered, but didn't let the ground bake under the sun. Now down here, even though I wanted to preserve the good microorganisms we had started growing, when I pulled up the tomatoes that were here, their roots were full of nematodes. So down here we use the black tarp because it draws the sun and it's going to solarize the first couple of inches of your ground. Now this may be a little more detrimental to some of the good microorganisms growing there, but it's kind of the lesser of two evils sort of situation, because definitely those nematodes are evil. Okay, here's a little kind of an informational moment. I pulled this tomato. This was a volunteer tomato. It actually grew out of the compost. Some of the little bit of compost I had that I put in the beds from last year. I want to show you a few things. I'm going to give these to the chickens because we had tremendous amounts of rain. They're starting to split before they're even ready to ripen. I have some in the house and they're ripening up. They're one of the yellow tomatoes, one of the heirloom yellows. They're starting to split and look pretty ugly. I'm going to give these to the chickens. But here's a perfect example of what I was telling you about the brassicas. This grew up in the middle of the cabbages. There's not any knots on this root. I want to show you. Let's see. That's a good, nice looking root. Now, if there were nematodes in that soil, like in the other ones, these would have big, looking like tumors and warts all over them. You see how they're just nice and fibrous? No nematodes in that bed because this tomato grew in with the cabbages. So there's a good tip for you. If you garden in Florida and you have those root knot nematodes in the winter, why don't you grow some brassicas in the same bed? You can grow mustard greens. They hate mustard greens. Mustard greens, cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, all of those things they hate. So in the winter when it's cool enough, when our days usually don't get over 70 degrees, grow some brassicas in the place you want to grow tomatoes, maybe the following year. Now here, I'm not growing tomatoes in the summer because it's just too darn hot. But it's a good thing. You can also grow your tomatoes in and among your brassicas if you're having an issue. There'll be, might be a little tricky for space, but you'll figure it out. Okay, so I thought I was recording and the camera was off. What I've done is I've used the yard rake again, the garden rake. It's the garden rake, not the yard rake. And I've spread that compost out. My beds are about 10 feet wide, and I used 2 bags on each row, and that gave me about 2 inches of compost. And ideally, that's all you need. I was really hoping for a big truck so I could just put big mounds of compost. That didn't happen. Now I have here seed from last year. I saved seed. I'm really hoping for good germination. It's the first time I've ever saved seed, and I saved it from the Perkins Long Pod Okra. I also have, I need to go get it. I also have some Clemson spineless seed that I bought at the store. Now these got really big, very tall. This variety got about 6 feet tall for me last year, and they branched out at least 2 feet wide. So I'm going to try to plant these. I'm going to plant 2 seeds to a hole just to ensure germination, and I'm going to plant them about 2 feet apart. If both seeds come up, then I will thin out the smaller, weaker looking one. I'm going to use the end of this hoe because I don't feel like getting down on my knees in this dirty garden. I'm not using a measure. I'm just going to guesstimate. Okay. Now all the okra's planted, and I've planted it in the center of my row so I know where it is. But I don't want all this good compost to get bleached out by the sun. I don't want it to kill any good microorganisms that may be growing in there. So I've got some leaves, and I'm going to go just lightly all along the edges, and I'm going to leave a space in the middle where I've planted.